It is 2 a.m., and you are caught in a loop. You pace the room running a mental highlight reel of every mistake they made. You replay the history until you are convinced they were the problem and you were flawless. You tell yourself this anger is a sign of high standards or a sudden moment of clarity about their character. At point zero, the moment a relationship ends, the brain registers a psychological wound. Rejection triggers feelings of helplessness and shame. Humans have a low tolerance for helplessness. The distress is high enough that the rational, wise adult part of your brain effectively goes offline. An adaptive child state takes over. Your brain shifts from feeling hurt to feeling indignant, replacing the vulnerability of shame with the grandiosity of anger. Post-breakup anger acts as a heavy psychological armor. It shields you from the underlying grief of that initial wound. Anger alone is hard to sustain over time. Your brain requires a logical narrative to justify keeping the armor on. This represents cognitive dissonance, the mental stress from conflicting beliefs, wanting the relationship to work versus the reality of rejection. Your brain resolves this friction by reinterpreting the past. You decide they were a monster, which eliminates the desire for them. Your brain manufactures this grudge to settle the internal dissonance. This process is driven by the self-serving bias. We are hardwired to attribute our successes to our character, while blaming failures on external factors. In a failed romance, you might credit the good times to your amazing personality and the bad times to your ex's character flaws. This creates a double standard. You judge your ex's mistakes as fundamental personality defects, but excuse your own behavior as a temporary reaction to stress. This bias shapes the narrative until you are the hero and your ex is the villain. To finalize the grudge, your brain applies hindsight bias. As shown on this timeline, hindsight bias overwrites your past information. It alters your memory so you can claim you saw the warning signs all along. You forget how much you loved them. Instead, you misremember your past opinions so they align with the current breakup. These biases combine to create a false confidence, anchoring you in a grudge based on a rewritten history. While these illusions protect your ego, they block real closure. Holding on to a manufactured history prevents you from moving forward. To heal, you must step back into a mature perspective. This means dropping the grandiosity and sitting with the sadness, instead of using anger as a shield. You then need to challenge the self-serving bias through accountability. Ask yourself how your own actions or lack of boundaries contributed to the breakdown. Self-righteousness loses its foundation when you acknowledge your own contributions to the conflict. Next, drop the right person, wrong time narrative. This stops you from romanticizing a future that does not exist. If someone does not choose you, they lack the basic requirement for a functional partnership. Letting go of a grudge requires the sacrifice of your ego. Facing these imperfections allows you to move past the resentment and prepare for a future connection.